What's up everyone, welcome back to the Vegan Test Kitchen. Today we are celebrating Mardi Gras and making our own king cake. Now, instead of the traditional baby figurine that goes inside, we're going back to the roots and putting something a little bit more natural. You'll see that later on. So, as always, all the ingredients that you need are listed below. Let's get started. Now, this recipe for the king cake is actually a Betty Crocker recipe. We just veganized it and it's absolutely delicious. So, what you need first is 3.5 cups of all-purpose flour, but we're only gonna put 2.5 cups into our stand mixer first, and we're gonna put 1 packet of rapid rise yeast in there. And with our paddle attachment, we're just gonna put it on low for about 30 seconds. All right, then we're gonna take a cup of plant-based milk. I'm using soy milk, and then we're gonna melt some sugar in that. We're gonna put it on a low heat. We wanna make sure that it gets to 120 to 130 degrees. And don't forget your salt. All right, I think we're melted, so we're gonna take this temperature. Make sure it has a healthy fever. All right, we're good. And it's super important that we do have that temperature right. Otherwise, you run the risk of killing your yeast or not activating it. Now we're gonna put our mixer on low and make sure that our liquids are incorporated well. Now, in addition to the milk and the sugar mixture, we're gonna add in just egg. Now this stuff is fantastic. It's a great substitute for eggs. You can pretty much just use it 1 for 1. 3 tablespoons equals 1 egg, so we need 2 eggs worth. We're using 6 tablespoons of just egg. There's really no reason to buy animal eggs anymore. We're just gonna put this in a little bit at a time. All right, and once our eggs are nice and incorporated, we're gonna lift this and switch the paddle to the dough hook. And then we're gonna incorporate the remaining cup of flour a little bit at a time. And we're gonna clean it off the hook from time to time just to make sure it's nice and mixed. So what we're going for is a nice soft dough. All right, once we have our nice soft dough, we're gonna add 6 tablespoons of vegan butter, a little bit at a time. So we're probably gonna cut this into 12 pieces. We wanna make sure it's fully incorporated before we add the next chunk. Personally, I think a great one for baking is Miyoko's butter. Now once the butter is all mixed in, we're gonna make sure to knead this on a low for about 8 minutes. You want the dough to clear the sides, and if it looks a little too moist, too sticky, then throw some flour in there. If it looks a little bit too dry, put a little tablespoon of water in there at a time. And we're gonna stop this every couple minutes just to take the dough off the hook and make sure everything's mixing well. All right, now that our dough is done, we're gonna sprinkle a bit of flour onto a work surface. We're just gonna knead this a little bit just to make sure it's nice and elastic. All right, we're gonna form this into a ball. And we're gonna put it in a lightly greased bowl. We're gonna cover it with saran wrap and throw it in the fridge, chill it for 1 hour. Now, while our dough is in the fridge, we are going to start on the cinnamon sugar filling. So we're gonna grab 4 tablespoons of unsalted softened butter. We're gonna add 2/3 cup of light brown sugar, nicely packed, and 1.5 teaspoon of cinnamon. This is a very simple filling, but it's oh so delicious. If you're not familiar with a king cake, it's essentially a glorified cinnamon roll. A really, really good cinnamon roll. And we're just gonna mix this up really well. It smells just like the cinnamon toast I ate as a kid. And we're gonna grab a baking sheet and we're gonna line that with parchment paper. Now, on a clean working space, we're gonna grab our chilled dough and we're gonna roll this out into a 20 by 10 rectangle. Good thing about this dough is it's so greased up that you don't really have to worry about it sticking to the countertop. All right, I think we're good. Now we're gonna take half of this dough and that's what we're gonna put the brown sugar filling on. All right, and we're gonna take this other half and just press it together with this one. We're gonna make sure that we pat down the seams so that the least amount of filling will leak out. And with the pizza cutter, we're gonna slice this into 3 strips. And then we're just gonna make sure to crimp the edges of these as well. We're gonna braid this together. Now, you're still probably gonna have some leakage, but it won't be as bad. Now, we're gonna take this and we're gonna stretch it out to make sure it is 20 inches again, which is perfect. And then we're gonna form it into a circle on our parchment paper. I'm just gonna push these together. Probably a more elegant way of doing that, but here we are. We're gonna cover this with some saran wrap and let it proof right here for another hour. We want it to double in size. About 15 minutes before we're ready to put this in the oven, you wanna make sure you set it to 350. Now, I do believe we are good and proofed. It has expanded a bit. We have one last thing to do before we put this in the oven, and that is hide the secret item, not the plastic baby. Now, they used to do a coin or a bean or a pea. We're doing a pecan, which is also something else they used to do. So what we're gonna do is hide this somewhere, wherever you want. All right. And we're gonna bake that for about 25 minutes. You want everything to be nice and golden brown. If you're familiar with king cake, you know that there are 3 different sugared toppings. There's gold, purple, and green, and we're gonna make our own today. Now, I'm using Watkins natural food coloring. All the colors that are used in this are made from vegetables and spices. Now, the easiest way to do this is to shake them and squish them in a plastic bag. So we have 3 different sugar bowls, 1 for each color. We're gonna do 1/8 of a cup of sugar in each one. And let's start with the easiest one, which is the gold. Now, to create that, we are going to put in 5 drops of the yellow. Now, since this is kind of like a gel, you're gonna have to squish them a little bit inside the bag, which is why I recommend putting it in a Ziploc bag. And then once you squish them, you can shake it around a little bit. Well, you wanna shake it around a lot. And of course, if you're not using the same brand that I'm using, you just gotta play with the numbers. But you see, that is a beautiful gold color. All right, onto the green. We're gonna do about 10 to 12 drops. And finally, we're gonna do our purple, which is 5 blue and 10 red. It smells like Cinnabon in here, so that means it's time to take it out. Oh yeah. You have no idea how amazing it smells in here. And you know what? This stuff on the side, it's all gonna be yummy, and on the bottom and gooey and great. Don't even worry about it. It's gonna look amazing, and it's gonna taste even better. All right, we're gonna let this cool probably for about 10 minutes on the sheet pan, and then we're gonna take it off, let it cool for a little bit longer. We want it to be pretty much all the way cool when we put the icing on top. And speaking of icing, you need 2 cups of powdered sugar, along with 1 teaspoon of vanilla, and 2 tablespoons of whatever plant-based milk you got. And now that we're fully cooled, we're going to ice and sugar it. The cake is so tender and soft and buttery. The icing is delicious. The cinnamon sugar filling is fantastic. It's like this one big giant cinnamon roll. How can you not love that? All right, y'all, this king cake is just nothing short of fantastic. So I hope you liked what you saw today. If you did, hit a thumbs up. I would love you for it. Make sure to subscribe and share and comment and all that good stuff. I'll see you all next time.